All right. Give me just a moment here, and I'll get everything on screen. All right. So we are going to start with some of the basics here, walking through the calendar. And this is going to be really for some of the new ones that don't understand a lot of this yet. And if you would like to get deeper into all this, actually let me get the link for everybody, and I will share the link to my article here. But my article, my write-up, my blog here that I have, it goes into much deeper detail about all of this. So let me just go ahead and share it. And I also recently updated as of this morning, actually. So I added all the priestly courses, the lunar mansions, the witnesses of the stars, all these things. So it's all updated with the current information and understanding that we have. And I'll share the link here. And if you're watching on YouTube, it's always in the description, the link to my write-up here. All right, so we're going to begin with the confusion with the word Kodesh. So the Hebrew word for the month is Chodesh, which is renewal, not Yarak, which is moon. However, modern-day translations and even some scriptural dictionaries, such as Strong's Concordance, in order to accommodate the rabbinical lunisolar calendar, have rendered on certain occasions the word Chodesh as new moon. As a result, in the modern-day translated Bibles, scriptures, there are about 20 instances where the word Chodesh has been erroneously translated into English as new moon. And of course, this is going to vary on your translation. I know the ISR, it takes every instance of Chodesh and translates it as new moon. But anyways, let me continue. So instead of new month, as it should be. However, the Hebrew word for moon is Yarak, not Chodesh. And the Hebrew word Chodesh has no direct or indirect connections with the word Yarak. Chodesh simply means month, or new month, renewal. The monthly cycle renewing itself every 30 days, as found in Enoch and Jubilees. Whereas the moon has cycles of 28, 29, and 30 days. And we'll get into all this after a bit as well. So the first time we see the word moon in the scriptures, it is the word Yarak. This is the word that we see when the word moon is used in an astrological sense. There is no example of Ha-Yarak, which would mean new moon in the Hebrew language, and this is not found in scriptures. However, there are many examples of the word Ha-Chodesh, or Ha-Chodesh, which means new month, or the head of the months, which is found all throughout scripture. And the interlinear shows, so Strong's Hebrew 2320, we have Ha-Chodesh. I don't know why it cut off the last H there, but anyways, there's 19 occurrences, and these are going to be all the verses you can find. All 19 occurrences of Ha-Chodesh. And all but like one of these is absolutely referring to one of the 4 seasonal heads of the months, the 4 ordained Noah days. So the above verses are all referring to the 4 seasonal heads of months, not a new moon. This is exactly why the verbiage was changed to hide the true calendar. Nowhere is there a single verse stating that the moon, Yarak, is for the months, Chodesh. The word for month is Chodesh, and it is never used in an astrological sense. And there is no etymological path for Yarak to become Chodesh. So in the interlinear numbering, we're going to find the Hebrew word Chodesh registered as following, according to their translations. So H2318, used 10 times, translated as renewal. H2319, 53 times, translated as new. Then we have H2320, which is used 283 times as month. Then we have Kodesh, H2321, which is used one time as a surname, Kodesh. It is important to note that not once does the word Kodesh ever mean moon. So Genesis 8:5, and the waters decreased steadily until the 10th month, Kodesh. In the 10th month, Kodesh. On the first day of the month, Kodesh. Exodus 19:1, in the 3rd month, Chodesh, after the children of Israel had come out of the land of Mitzrayim, on this day they came to the wilderness of Sinai. Leviticus 23:5, in the 1st month, Chodesh, on the 14th day of the month, Chodesh, between the evenings is the Pesach to Yahuah. And this is just a few examples. So it can be noticed in the above quotes that the word Chodesh is linked to calendar dates, and yet never once does the word Yarak appear. Let us now take a look at the word moon, Yarak, in scriptures. So H3394 and H3391. It's used interchangeably 28 times, translated directly as moon. Then we have H3392, used twice, translated as the surname Yarak. So pretty interesting, there's a Chodesh and a Yarak used as a surname. Then we have Yarak, or the moon itself as well, labeled H3391 and H3393. Again, interchangeably used this way. And it's translated 12 times as month. That is a lunar cycle or lunation, which we'll get into exactly what that is as well, because it's not a month of the year. It's a lunar cycle. So Jeremiah 31:35. Thus said Yahuah, who gives the sun for a light by day, and the laws of the moon, Yarak, and the stars for a light by night. So all of this is for the lights for the night, amongst other witnesses, which again we'll get into. And Joel 2:10, the earth shall tremble before them, the Shamayim shall shake, and the sun and moon, Yarak, shall be darkened, and the stars withdraw their brightness. Genesis 37:9, and he dreamed and still another dream related to his brothers, and said, see, I have dreamed another dream. And see, the sun and the moon, Yarak, and the stars, and the 11 stars bowed down to me. So not only is this an example of Yarak, but it's also the example of what the sun, moon, and stars are. The sun is the father figure, the moon is the mother figure, the stars are the children, and they all play a role in the calendar. Deuteronomy 17:3, and has gone and served other mighty ones and bowed down to them, or the sun, or to the moon, which is Yarak, or to any of the hosts of the Shamayim, which I have not commanded. This clearly shows the lying pen of the scribes and how they changed the wording to fit the lunisolar calendar of the Pharisees. And it shows a clear distinction between the moon and the months. The moon is not to be observed for the months. 13 months are Pharisee Babylonian infused, not Yahuah ordained. So please read 1 Chronicles 27, verses 1 through 15. Also 1 Kings 4, verses 7 through 19. And so here we have all the verses that are going to describe the first month of the year. And if you have to, feel free to pause and take screenshots or whatever you need to do. It's also in my write-up as well, this exact layout here. And then we have the verses for the second month, the verses for the third month, the fourth month, the fifth month, the sixth month, the seventh month. We can see which ones have the most verses as well. It's pretty intriguing. Then the 8th month, the 9th month, the 10th month, the 11th month, the 12th month, 13th month, nothing. Not a single verse. Not one. No verses. You will not find a 13th month mentioned anywhere in Scripture. So essential to any calendar is the notion of order. Without order, a calendar is rendered useless. From the beginning, the Father decreed that the sun, moon, and stars would move in an orderly precision along predictable set paths. So Jubilees chapter 2, verses 8 and 9. And on the fourth day he created the sun and the moon and the stars, and placed them in the Shamayim, or the firmament of the Shamayim, to give light upon all the earth, and to rule over the day and the night, and divide the light from the darkness. And Elohim appointed the sun to be a great sign on the earth for days, for Sabbaths, for months, for festivals, for years, for Sabbaths of years, for jubilees, and for all seasons of the year. And Genesis 1, 14 through 15. And Elohim said, let lights come to be in the firmament of the Shamayim, the sun, moon, and stars, to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs, appointed times, and for days and years, and let them be for lights in the firmament of the Shamayim, to give light on the earth. And it came to be so. These scripture verses tell us that the sun, moon, and stars are also involved in time tracking. However, the sun was given a unique role. It was created to be a great sign and plays a predominant part in the scheduling of days, months, years, Sabbaths, and feast days, as Jubilees 2, 9 through 10 states. And we have it here, repeat it again, so I don't know why I had that in there. Anyways, so this is a quote from Rachel Elior. And prior to Antiochus Epiphanes IV, the Hebrews followed a precalculated solar calendar. It guided their spiritual life and informed their identity as a Kodesh people. To them, it was a non-negotiable issue. Absolutely non-negotiable. So the Zadokite priests and others left Jerusalem and went into the wilderness of Qumran. And this marked a time of historical and spiritual change for the nation. And here are going to be the anchored feast days that never change based on the true calendar. So we have the 4 seasonal heads of the months, which is the first day of months 1, 4, 7, and 10. And they always fall on the 4th day of the week. Then we have Passover, unleavened bread, the first fruits, Shavuot. Then we have the first fruits of new wine, the first fruits of new oil, the wood offering, the trumpets, atonement, and Sukkot. These are always on the same day each and every year. So the calendar keeps the Kodesh festivals as exactly that, Kodesh. No need to put one festival day above another, making one lesser, or having to break specific Sabbath or festival commandments to keep another. So, for example, there are some who will say, oh, well, Passover falls on the Sabbath day. Well, it goes against Torah to, slaughter and skin and kill an animal on the Shabbat day. So you cannot be observing a Passover if it falls on the Shabbat without breaking the commands of the Shabbat. And if you're doing that, then you are putting one above another, and they are all equally Kodesh. Scriptures never describes, in case they fall, in case Passover falls on a Shabbat day, here's what you do. No, because that never happens. So the importance of the north is something many don't understand fully. In Hebrews 12:22, we learn the city of the living Elohim is Mount Zion, which is heavenly Jerusalem, which is in the north. Psalm 48 tells us exactly what that means. So Psalm 48, great is Yahuah, and greatly to be praised in the city of our Elohim, his Kodesh mountain. Pretty on high, the joy of all the earth is Mount Zion, on the sides of the north, the city of the great sovereign. Elohim is in her citadels, and he is known as a refuge. For look, the sovereigns met, and they passed by together, and they saw. So they marveled. They were alarmed, and they hastened away. Trembling took hold of them there, pain as of a woman in labor. With an east wind you break the ships of Tarshish. As we have heard, so we have seen, in the city of Yahuah of hosts. In the city of our Elohim, Elohim establishes her forever. Selah. We have thought, O Elohim, of your kindness in the midst of your Hayakal. According to your name, O Elohim, so is your praise to the ends of the earth. Your right hand is filled with righteousness, and let Mount Zion rejoice. Let the daughters of Yehudah exult because of your right rulings. Walk about Zion and go all around her. Count her towers and apply your heart to her rampart. Go through her citadels so that you report it to the coming generation. For this Elohim is our Elohim, forever and ever. He himself leads us, even to death. So Mount Zion is no mere mound in 1948 Rothschild's Israel. It's the chief of the mountains, raised above all hills, the Jerusalem to which pilgrimages are made during the millennial reign, just as Isaiah 2, verses 2 through 3 prophesied. But if Mount Zion is the city of Yahuah, New Jerusalem, and it's the joy of the whole earth, then where is it? Well, 2 Esdras 13, which is part of the original KJV, answers that question. It's also found in the Dead Sea Scrolls as well, and many other canonical books have it. So 2 Esdras 13, verses 5 through 10. And after this I looked, and see, a crowd of men without number was gathered together from the four winds of the Shamayim to overcome the man who came out of the sea. But I looked, and see, he had carved himself a great mountain and rose upon it. And I tried to see the region or place from which the mountain was carved, and I could not. And after this I looked, and see, all those who were gathered together to overcome him were very afraid, and yet were bold to fight. And look, as he saw the violence of the crowd that came, he neither lifted up his hand or held a sword, nor any weapon of battle. But I only saw that he sent what looked like a blast of fire out of his mouth, and a flaming breath out of his lips, and he threw out a storm of sparks out of his tongue. So we see this is actually speaking about the Gog-Magog war that happens at the end of the little season. And we see that the land is hidden, which, Esdras goes into more. But this land is hidden, so is the city until it's time of revealing. But that's a whole nother subject. Anyways, so it says Yahusha is currently on Mount Zion with the saints. But Mount Zion will only appear during the Gog-Magog battle. Just as we can't see what's deep in the ocean, neither can we see Mount Zion until it's time for it to be revealed. Then fire will come down from Yahuah and burn the attacking armies. So compare the verses for yourself. Revelation 20, verses 8 through 9. And he shall go out to lead the nations astray, which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together for battle, whose number is as the sand of the sea. And they came up over the breadth of the earth, and surrounded the camp of the Kodeshim, and the beloved city. And fire came down from Elohim out of the Shamayim and consumed them. And also 2 Esdras, also 4 Esdras, 7:26. For behold, the time will come, when the signs of which I have foretold you will come to pass, that the city which now is not seen shall appear, and the land which is now hidden shall be disclosed. And there it is. So Hebrews 12, 22 through 29. But you have drawn near to Mount Zion, and to the city of the living Elohim, to Jerusalem of the Shamayim, to myriads of messengers, to the entire gathering and the assembly of the firstborn, having been enrolled into the Shamayim, and to Elohim, the judge of all. So speaking about the firstborn in the Ruach, not in the flesh. And to the spirits of righteous men made perfect. Why are they made perfect? Not because they are perfect, but because Yahuah covers our sins. And to Yahusha, the mediator of a renewed covenant. And to the blood of sprinkling, which speaks better than Habel. Take heed not to refuse the one speaking. For if those did not escape who refused the warning on earth, much less we who turn away from him from the Shamayim, whose voice shook the earth then. But now he has promised, saying, Yet once more I shake not only the earth, but also the Shamayim. And this, yet once more, makes clear the removal of what is shaken, as having been made, so that the unshaken might remain. Therefore, receiving an unshakable reign, let us hold the favor, through which we serve Elohim pleasingly, with reverence and awe. For indeed our Elohim is a consuming fire. Love it. So we see Enoch and Jubilees also describe where Mount Zion is. It's in the north. So Jubilees 8:19. And he knew that the Garden of Eden is the most Kodesh place, and the dwelling of Yahuah. And Mount Sinai, the center of the desert. And Mount Zion, the center of the navel of the earth. These three were created as Kodesh places facing each other. So we can see Mount Zion is the center, the navel of the earth, which is the Garden of Eden as well, which we're going to get into next. So Zion is the center and navel of the earth where Yahuah's throne itself is, and New Jerusalem are placed. So Jubilees 4:26. For Yahuah has 4 places on the earth, the Garden of Eden, and the mountains of the east, the mountain of the east, and this mountain on which you are this day, which is Mount Sinai, and Mount Zion, which shall be Kadosh, in the new creation, for a Kodeshah of the earth. Through it the earth shall be Kodesh, from all guilt, and its uncleanness throughout the generations of the world. And then Enoch 26, 1 through 2. And I went from there to the middle of the earth, and I saw a Baruch place, in which there were trees with branches, abiding and blooming, the garden. And there I saw a Kodesh mountain, Mount Zion, and underneath the mountain to the east there was a stream, and it flowed towards the south. So as we have read, Mount Zion is in the center of the earth, the north. It is where the place of Yahuah's throne and New Jerusalem, and it is where the years begin and end, as we will read. So Enoch 41, 5 through 9. And I saw the chambers of the sun and the moon, where they proceed and where they come again, and their magnificent return, and how one is superior to the other, the sun over the moon, and their stately course, and how they do not leave their course, and they do not add to their course, and they do not take away from it. And they keep trust with each other, like a husband and a wife, in accordance with the oath by which they are bound together, like a husband and wife. And we can see that the sun is the male, the moon is the female. And first, the sun goes forth and traverses his path, according to the commandment of Yahuah of hosts. So it's first the sun goes forth, not the moon. And mighty is his name forever and ever. And after that I saw the hidden and the visible path of the moon. And she accomplishes the courses of her path in that place by day and by night, the one holding a position opposite to the other before Yahuah of hosts. And we're going to get into that witness a bit later too as well. And they give thanks and praise and do not rest, for unto them their thanksgiving is rest. For the sun changes often for a barakah or a curse. And the course of the path of the moon is light to the righteous and darkness to the sinners, in the name of Yahuah, who made a separation between the light and the darkness, and divide the spirits of men, and strengthen the spirits of the righteous, in the name of his righteousness. For no messenger delays, and no power is able to delay. For he appoints a right ruler for them all, and he rightly rules them all before him. So this chamber of the sun and the moon is in the north. So Enoch 72, 4 through 5. And first there goes forth a great light named the sun, and its circumference is like the circumference of the Shamayim. And he is quite filled with illuminating and heating fire. The chariot on which he ascends, the wind drives. And the sun goes down from the Shamayim and returns through the north in order to reach the east, and is so guided that he comes to that portal and shines in the face of the Shamayim. So we can see in the north, the sun is going to this portal and shining in the face of the Shamayim, the heavens. Enoch 34, 1. And from there I went towards the north, to the ends of the earth. And there I saw a great and magnificent object at the ends of the whole earth. And speaking about Mount Zion. And Enoch 77, 3 through 7. And the fourth quarter, named the north, is divided into 3 parts. The first of them is for the dwelling of men. The second contains seas of water, and the abysses, and forests and rivers, and darkness and clouds. And the third part contains the garden of righteousness. I saw 7 high mountains, higher than all the mountains which are on the earth. And from there comes forth frost, and days, seasons, and years pass away. So this is all about the northern quarter right there. So what comes forth from it? Days, seasons, and at the end of the year, the head of the year as well. This is where the years pass away and they begin. So I saw 7 rivers on the earth, larger than all the rivers. One of them coming from the west pours its waters into the great sea. And these 2 come from the north to the sea and pour their waters into the eastern sea in the east. And the remaining 4 come from the fourth on the side of the north to their own sea. 2 of them to the eastern sea, and 2 into the great sea, and discharge themselves there. And some say, into the desert. So verse 4 specifically reads, and from there comes forth frost, days, seasons, and years pass away, in reference to the north and its importance, not only for where the years begin and end, but the very location of Mount Zion itself. This is going to be the divider day that separates the years. Yahuah works in divisions. He divides light from darkness. He divides the days, divides the weeks, the months, the seasons. Why wouldn't there be a yearly divider as well? This divider day keeps the calendar in sync with the heavenly markers each year, without drifting behind them or ahead, and then adding 7 days to the year to catch back up. Yahuah didn't give us the heavenly signs and then tell us to wait until a Wednesday, or to let the signs drift forwards or backwards each year to catch back up to them. Nor did the Gregorian week as we know it today exist when Yahuah created everything in the beginning. Why would the sons of Zadok align creation week to a Wednesday that didn't even exist at their time? Scholars like Rachel Elior even mention this added divider day the sons of Zadok used to align the calendar with the witnesses in the heavens. So another quote from Rachel Elior. This is from her book, The 3 Temples, which we have a PDF in our library group of this book here. So the 364 days of the year are divided into 12 heavenly gates, through which the sun enters and leaves, in parallel to the 12 months of the year, or 365 days, where the added day, the day, so this is her words, day of the Lord, is not counted, and was probably used to make up the discrepancy between the ritual figure of 364 and the actual figure of the Earth's revolution around the sun in 365 and a quarter days. Again, this is Rachel Elior. We know that it's not the sun, it's not the Earth going around the sun. The sun is right above us. Yeah, her name is Rachel. And here is a screenshot. So it's page 103, 3 Temples. And I got it highlighted right here, that exact quote from her book. Exactly what it says above. So even Rachel Elior knew about this extra day, this divider day that was used. Hey, Lachlan, Shabbat Shalom, brother. So Jubilees 2 verse 9, and we read this above. But Elohim appointed the sun to be a great sign on the earth for days, Sabbaths, months, festivals, years, Sabbaths of years, for Jubilees and all seasons of the year. It is the sun that is a great sign for days, weeks, months, years, Sabbaths, Jubilees, as written in Jubilees. And we can also see there is a sign for when the weekly Sabbath day will begin. So Jubilees 2 verses 16 through 18. And he completed all his work on the 6th day, all that is in the heavens and on the earth, and in the seas and in the abysses, in the light and in the darkness, and in everything. And he gave us, so it's the angels, a great sign, the day of the Sabbath, that we should do work 6 days, and should rest on the Sabbath from all work. And all the angels of the face, and all the angels that cry, Kodesh to us, these 2 great kinds, he said, that we should observe the Sabbath with him in heaven and on earth. Jubilees 2:21. And so he created therein a sign, in accordance with which they should guard the Shabbat with us, on the seventh day. So the sign, verse 9 just told us in Jubilees that sign is the sun. So to eat and drink, and to Baruch him who has created all matters, as he has Baruch and Kadesh unto himself a treasured possession, a people above all peoples, and that they should guard the Sabbath together with us. So here in verse 21 of Jubilees 2, we can see he created a sign in which day we should guard the Sabbath. Verse 9 shows us it's the sun. And the sun is the marker or the straight line, which marks the divider day. This is when the spring equinox happens every year, when the sun, moon, and stars were created to track the months. The next day is day 1 of month 1. On day 4 of creation week, 3 days later is always the Shabbat day. Why would there be a sign the angel of Yahuah is mentioning in Jubilees if the Sabbath was always a never-ending cycle of 7 days? In Jubilees 50, 1-4. And after this law I made known to you the days of the Sabbaths in the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai. And I told you of the Sabbaths of the land on Mount Sinai. And I told you of the Jubilee years and the Sabbaths of years. But the year thereof I have not told you until you enter the land which you are to possess. And the land also shall keep its Sabbaths while they dwell upon it. And they shall know the Jubilee year. Therefore I have ordained for you the yearly Sabbaths, and the years, and the Jubilees. So the yearly Sabbaths, the Shabbat day. There are 49 Jubilees from the days of Adam until this day. And it just goes into continue to talk about keeping the commands. But for time's sake, we'll jump to here. So the sun's analemma, and from vernal equinox to vernal equinox, also show us 365 days in between. So Genesis 5, verses 23 and 24. So all the days of Hanoch were 365 years. And Hanoch walked with Elohim. Then he was no more, for Elohim took him. So there's no coincidence. And we can see that Enoch walked the earth 365 years. The divider day is, quote-unquote, day 365, although it is not counted in the numbering of days, months, and years. Enoch also gives us the math for the excess of the sun and stars, 6 days and 5 years. 6 divided by 5 is 1.2, or about 1 1/4. In the same 5 years, the moon falls behind 30 days, which more on this in a moment. And Enoch 74:11, and the excess of the sun and the stars amounts to 6 days and 5 years. And then it continues on talking about how the moon will fall behind the 30 days in that same amount of time, the 5 years. And we're going to get into that. Also, Jubilees tells us the yearly 364-day count begins on day 4 and is numbered in 52 weeks of 7 days. Jubilees 6, 30 through 33. And all the days of the command shall be 52 weeks of days, and these shall make the entire year complete. So 52 weeks of 7 days exactly. We don't see a 53rd week in there anywhere. Thus it is engraved and ordained on the tablets of the Shamayim. There is no neglecting this command for a single year or from year to year. So right here it says we don't neglect this 52 weeks of 7 days for a single year and from year to year, meaning this is what it always is. And you shall command the children of Israel that they shall observe the years according to this reckoning, 364 days. And these shall constitute a complete year, and they shall not disturb its time from its days and from its festivals, for all shall fall out in them according to their witness, and they shall not leave out any day or disturb any festivals. So why is it being reiterated 64 days in both Enoch and Jubilees? It's because we actually physically experience 365. But if they neglect and do not observe them according to his command, then they shall disturb all their seasons, and the years shall be dislodged from this order, and they shall neglect their laws. Yep, neglect which laws? The laws of the luminaries that are set to be over the calendar. Show us what the calendar is. So Jubilee 54, therefore I have ordained for you the yearly Sabbaths. The yearly Sabbaths are divided. And the years in the Yobelim. And then it continues on. We read that. And then Lamentations 2:6. He has demolished his booth like a garden. He has destroyed his place of meeting. Yahuah has made the appointed times and the Sabbaths to be forgotten in Zion, and despises sovereigns and priests, excuse me, in his raging displeasure. Too much talking, sorry. Okay, apologies. I had forgotten to refill my water. Okay, so this clearly shows the Sabbath day was lost. How can this be if it was a constant 7-day endless cycle from year to year? Yeah, if the Sabbaths were caused to be lost, they could just count to 7 and find them again. So they were lost because, yeah, there's a cycle each year of the Sabbaths because it's divided by a day. Why would there need to be a sign each year to know exactly when the 7th day's Shabbat was if there wasn't a yearly division? So Job 38, 4-5. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare, if you have understanding, who appointed its measurements, if you know, or who stretched the line upon it? James 1, 16 and 17. Do not go astray, my beloved brothers. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no change or turning shadow. So the straight line, the shadow, who stretched the line upon it? No turning shadow. On the equinox, even just using a stick and marking the shadow throughout the day, the sun's shadow will cast a straight line during that day. The shadow will curve or shift on other days and not be straight. And then we have 1 Samuel 20, verse 5. And David said to Jonathan, see, tomorrow is the head of the month. And this verse is also mistranslated as new moon, but it's HaChodesh. And I ought to sit with the sovereign to eat. But let me go, and I shall hide in the field until the 3rd day at evening. What is David seeing to know the next day is the head of the month? It's the great sign of the sun, the equinox, the straight line shadow. The head of the 4 seasonal months are also important. Jubilee 6 explains they are the 4 Noah-ordained days, marking the events of the flood. Jubilee 6, 23 and 24. And on the head of the 1st month, on the head of the 4th month, on the head of the 7th month, and on the head of the 10th month are the days of remembrance, and the days of the seasons in the 4 divisions of the year. These are written and ordained as a witness forever. And Noah ordained them for himself as festivals for the generations forever, so that they have become thereby a memorial to him. So again, like all the rest of the Moedim, these 4 Noah days are also to be observed forever. Jubilees 12:16. In the 6th week, in the 5th year, Abraham sat up throughout the night on the head of the 7th month to observe the stars from evening to morning, in order to see what would be the character of the year with regard to the rains. And he was alone and sat and observed. Also, these verses in Ezekiel and Amos show the 4 heads of the 4 seasonal months are Shabbat days, just like the weekly Shabbat. No work or buying or selling. The days Noah ordained in Jubilees chapter 6 as a memorial. So Ezekiel 46:1. Thus said the Adon Yahuah, the gate of the inner courtyard facing east is shut the 6 days of work, but on the Shabbat it is opened, and on the head of the months it is opened, the HaHodesh. So a lot of these will also mistranslate it new moon. We know that from reading what we did about Hodesh and HaHodesh that it does not mean new moon at all. It's talking about these 4 seasonal heads of months. And then we have Amos 8:5-6, saying, when does the head of the months pass so that we sell grain, and the Sabbath so that we trade our wheat, to make the ephah small and the shekel large, to falsify the scales by deleit, and so forth. But we see also the people here complaining, when's the head of the month's going to pass, so that they can do these things. Just witnesses in Scripture to these 4 Noah days and how they are to be observed, just like a weekly Shabbat day. And then we also have Psalm 19:1-9. Actually, one of my favorite psalms here. So the Shamayim are proclaiming the esteem of El, and the firmament is declaring the work of his hand. This is creation. Day to day pours forth speech, and night to night reveals knowledge. Day and night separated, beginning in the morning. There is no speech, and there are words. The voice is not heard. The luminaries are these silent witnesses in the Shamayim. Their line has gone out through all the earth, and there's that line again. And their words to the end of the world. In them he put up a tent for the sun, and it's like a bridegroom coming out of his room, the north. And it rejoices like a strong man to run the path, the 364 days. And it's rising from one end of the Shamayim, and its circuit to the other end, the solstices and equinoxes, and naught is hidden from its heat. And so the sun, the moon, and the stars are speaking, but have no voice. They're showing us the yearly markers and seasonal dividers. They set the calendar. So here we have 1 QS, or the community rule, column 10, verses 3-5. And at the entry of the constellation in the days of the heads of the months, together with their rotations during their stations, renewing each other. This is all important to remember when we get into the lunar stations as well. It is a great day for the Holy of Holies, and an omen, and then vacate, or it's blank here, of the opening of his everlasting mercies, for the beginnings of the constellations in every future age, and then vacate again, meaning it's blank, missing text. So at the commencement of the months in their constellations, and of the holy days in their sequence, as a reminder in their constellations. And then Enoch 74:12. And the sun and the stars bring in all the years exactly, so that they do not advance or delay their position by a single day unto everlasting, but complete the years with perfect justice in 364 days. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, verses 17 through 19. It is he who gave me true knowledge of the forces of nature, what the world is made of, behave, how the determined by the movements of the changing season and the constellations, which are echoes of the years. So in Enoch 74 here, it's the sun and the stars bringing the years. In the verse at all. This is also supported by the most Solomon 17 to 19, that the sun and the stars determine the count, the moon, the witness as well. A determining factor. So the verses Enoch said for all state the moon will be 10 days a year, no 354 days in a year, proving that the translations that falsely insert moon here are in error. How can the moon bring in a 364-day year when it only has 354? Not to mention the plural, they do not advance or delay, is a big clue as well. As when moon is inserted falsely, it still says they in the plural in that same phrase for the singular word moon. So let me explain a little bit clearly for those who are just hearing this or don't quite understand. So there are some versions of Enoch where here in 74:12 they remove sun and stars. They take that both out and just simply insert moon. But the thing about that is, in this next phrase here after the comma, it still says so that they do not advance or delay their position. Like two they in there for the singular word moon. That's a big clue showing it's not just the moon. The moon is a witness, yes, absolutely. So Enoch 82, 4 through 7. Baruch are all the righteous. Baruch are all those who walk in the way of righteousness, and do not sin as the sinners, in the reckoning of all their days, in which the sun traverses the Shamayim, entering into and departing from the portals for 30 days, with the heads of the thousands of the order of the stars. We're going to get into all this in a bit here as well. Together with the four which are intercalated, which divide the four portions of the year, which lead them and enter with them 4 days. So owing to them, men shall be at fault, and not reckon them in the whole reckoning of the year. So as we can see, these 4 intercalary days are supposed to be reckoned in the reckoning of the year, contrary to some who have the belief that they should not be in the reckoning of the year. Enoch tells us otherwise. Also, men will be at fault. Men shall be at fault and not recognize them accurately, for they belong to the reckoning of the year and are truly recorded forever. So right here he reiterates again, these do belong in the reckoning of the year. A prophetic year that Daniel and Revelation is speaking about is just a prophecy of the years coming together. But in the actual year, these days are absolutely included. So 1 in the first portal, 1 in the third, 1 in the fourth, 1 in the sixth. And the year is completed in 364 days. And the account thereof is accurate. The account of what? The sun and the stars. Because that's what this whole context is speaking about here. So the sun and the stars, and the recorded reckoning thereof exact. For the lights, and months, and festivals, and years, and days. just like Jubilees tells us the sun is for. As Uriel shown and revealed unto me, to whom the Adon of the whole creation of the world has subjected the host of the Shamayim. And we have Enoch 75, 1 through 2. And the leaders of the heads of the thousands of the stars, who are placed over the whole creation, and over all the stars, have also to do with the 4 intercalary days, being inseparable from their office, according to the reckoning of the year. Yep, the 4 divisions of the year. These render service on the 4 days, which are not reckoned in the reckoning of the year, meaning they are intercalated. So they are the 31st day every 3rd month to show their placement. And owing to them men go astray therein. For those lights truly render service on the world stations, one in the 1st portal, one in the 3rd portal of the Shamayim, one in the 4th portal, and isn't this interesting, in the 3rd portal of the Shamayim? That's exactly what we say when the sun goes through the north and shines in the face of the Shamayim. It's still in that 3rd portal at the time, and it only moves into the 4th portal after that equinox. This is just another clue, the 3rd portal of the Shamayim, that unnamed portal. And then one in the 4th portal, and one in the 6th portal. And the exactness of the year is accomplished through its separate 364 stations. Job 9, 7 through 10. Who commands the sun, and it does not rise? And he seals up the stars, stretching out the Shamayim by himself, and treading upon the waves of the sea. Who made Ash, or Arcturus, Casil, Orion, and Kima, which is Pleiades, and the rooms of the south? Who performs great and unsearchable deeds, and wonders without number? Job 38, 31 through 33. Do you bind the bands of Kimna, again Pleiades, or loosen the cords of Casil, Orion? Do you bring out the constellations in its season? Big clue. Or do you lead the bear, which is Ursa Major, with its sons? This is also the Big Dipper as well. So do you know the laws of the Shamayim, or do you apply their rule over the earth? Yes, they have laws, the laws of the luminaries. They are the laws in the heavenly scrolls that rule over the calendar, over the earth. The calendar is determined by the movements of the sun and the stars, as we can see all throughout scriptures. They determine the years and when they begin and end. We cannot trust Rome or the synagogue of Hasatan to have kept Yahuah's true Sabbath day or calendar. In all of our studies, we have found through Scripture the Sabbath day is not always on a Saturday. In fact, you will not find the word Saturday in Scripture at all. The divider day every year is what separates the years and divides the numbering of days, perfectly matching the markers and the heavenly signs Yahuah has given us to determine these things. Also remember the verses in Ezekiel and Amos that show the 4 heads or the 4 seasonal months are Sabbath days, just like the weekly Sabbath. No work, buying or selling. The days of Noah ordained in Jubilee 6, and therefore showing that there is never more than 7 days between Sabbath days between the years. Excuse me. So that's a big thing people always, they kind of murmur and complain about. Oh, well, you got 8 days between your Sabbaths some years, or each year, and then 9 others. Well, no. With these 4 Noah ordained days, that's not true. There's never more than 7 days between Shabbats. Yep, Gregorian flow. It's not Yahuah's calendar. Exactly. And then again, Enoch 72, 4 through 6. And we've read this already, so I'll just kind of skim over the bold parts here. So first, there goes forth the great light, the sun. Goes with Jubilees 2:9, that the sun is the great sign for all of these things. What is the sun's great sign? It's the straight line shadow that only happens on the equinoxes. And so it returns through the north in order to reach the east, and is so guided that he comes to that portal and shines in the face of the Shamayim. Again, that portal in the heaven in the north that he's going to and shining in the face of heaven. And in this way, he rises in the first month in the great portal, which is the fourth. So verse 5 of Enoch 72, we can see it shows the sun enters into the portal of heaven and shines in heaven. Then in that same way, he rises in the great portal, the fourth. Two portals, one in heaven, which is the yearly divider. Then the other is the great fourth portal, starting the monthly count. Enoch 72:32, and on that day, the night decreases and amounts to 9 parts, and the day to 9 parts, and the night is equal to the day, and the year is exactly as to its day, 364. So here in Enoch 72, we can see he is defining the day before the equinox, as Enoch was taken to the north and was able to see the equal night and day from Yahuah's position. So Enoch is describing the cycle of the sun, moon, and stars each year, and this is day 364. So Marissa actually has a lot more information in the calendar presentation, the importance of the north. Actually, in all of the calendar presentations, this is just a quick recap of them. But she goes into a lot more detail about all this. And so really quick, I need to share my other. So I got 3 parts here basically, and they're not too long. Well, this first one was the longest. But before we go on, if anybody has any questions or anything they'd like to add, feel free. We're going to be getting into the ordinance of the stars and the stations of the moon as well here next. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to stop me as well.
Yeah, Jeremy, will this be downloadable?
You mean these write-ups here?
Yeah.
I can make them downloadable. They're actually so I shared my link earlier. This is all just taken from my write-up that I did. I just recently updated it as of this morning as well.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so I replied to it in the chat, but after this, I can actually put these in the PDF section in the library as well. Just these separate write-ups here.
Okay, that's what I need.
Awesome. Yeah, no problem. I can do that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. And so, so we've gone over the importance of the north, how Chodesh does not mean new moon whatsoever. And we're going to get into the witnesses of the luminaries here. I mean, the sun's pretty obvious its witness, but the stars and the moon took a bit more to figure out here. And Barak Yahuah, that it was put on Sister Marissa's heart to find all this information. So the ordinance of the stars. So the sky is a giant wheel made up of stars divided into 12 equal sections, each one representing a constellation or Mazzaroth sign. Each of these sections is about 30 degrees wide. At the beginning of a solar month, the sun is positioned right at the start of one of these 30-degree sections. That's what we mean when we say the sun has entered a new constellation. So Polaris, the North Star, stands fixed at the head of the northern sky. Across the course of the year, the Big Dipper shifts slowly in the sky. For example, in one season, the bull may be near the horizon at nightfall, while in another it appears overhead, or on the opposite side of Polaris. By observing the shift, the ancients could determine which season they were in, tracking the year with the movement of the stars as witnesses. So, here we have the Big Dipper, and then we see, this is what we were speaking about earlier, and we can also see what sign this makes and where they get it from and why they make it look bad. Don't want you even looking at it. It's because they all point at Polaris, and this will tell you which season of the year we're in. So the star leaders, the 4 star leaders that we've just read so much about. So heliacal rising. Heliacal rising happens when a star reappears in the eastern sky just before sunrise, after being hidden by the sun's glare. This first morning appearance marks the star's return to visibility in the yearly cycle. Ancient peoples watched these risings to track the time and seasons. In Yahuah's design, the stars witness to the appointed times, and their heliacal rising act as natural markers within his calendar. Jubilees 12:16, and we'd read this before, but just a quick review. It's Abraham sat up through the night on the head of the 7th month to observe the stars from evening to morning. And so here, Sister Marissa put together pictures of all the 4 star leaders and the dates that they fall on as well. So we see the spring intercalary star leader, Satalemic, and we see it rising, March 19th, just before the sun. Then we have Aldebaran, which is the summer intercalary day, June 19th. And again, we see it here still visible just before sunrise. The fall intercalary day, which is Regulus, on September 19th. Again, we see it here just before sunrise, shining. And the winter intercalary day, December 18th. And Antares? Yeah, and if anybody has questions, Sister Marissa is here in chat as well. This is her presentation. I'm just reading it. But anyways, we see Antares, December 18th. Again, seen just before sunrise. These are the 4 heads of the thousands that we read about in Enoch. So the months in the stars. The sun is appointed 12 stations along its yearly path, known as the Mazzaroth, which divide the heavens into 12 portions corresponding to the months of the solar year. As the sun moves through the Mazzaroth from one station to the next, its position bears witness to the progression of time and the completion of each solar month. The fixed stars do not rule the year, but stand in their appointed places as signs, forming the backdrop against which the sun completes its circuit, much like the numbers on a clock that stand in place to witness the passage of time without causing it. So measuring time, as the sun moves through the Mazzaroth each month, its light illuminates different portions of the earth, creating predictable cycles of day and night. Enoch was shown this view from above the earth, and the 18 divisions of light and darkness described in the book of Enoch reflect what he observed, demonstrating how these cycles are measured and recorded. This provides a visible framework that the moon and the stars then witness throughout the year. So we can see here the months that are in the stars, or the Mazzaroth signs. So the ram, the ox, the twins, the crab. Then we have the lion, the virgin, the scales, and the scorpion. Then we have the archer, the kid, the drawer, and the fish. And also, again, if you need to, you can pause, take screenshots. It gives the date here and things like that, when these signs will be seen. So star time and the head of days. A sidereal day, the time it takes for the stars to return to the same position, is slightly shorter than the solar day, about 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4 seconds. Over 365 sidereal rotations, the stars complete a total of 364 24-hour days. This difference shows why the solar year and the stellar cycles do not perfectly align on their own. The head of days serves as a fixed, appointed marker that reconciles these cycles, ensuring that the sun, moon, and stars all move in harmony and that the year remains ordered according to Yahuah's design. The stars testify to the passing of time, but the head of days anchors the structure of the year. The moon is often misunderstood. It is more than just a nighttime light. It serves as a marker, a guide, and a witness in the order of the luminaries. Throughout the year, when the moon is full, one way it acts as a witness is by standing opposite the sun in the sky. And this is that witness we get in Enoch. And it means the constellation behind the full moon is always opposite from the one the sun is currently in. For example, if the sun is in Aries, the full moon will appear in Libra. This gives us yet another visual clue to help confirm the current solar month based on the stars, and the moon as a witness. A full moon occurs once a month, so we can see this witness between days 1 and 30 of each solar month. And just here's an example. So the sun and then the moon when it's full is exactly opposite. So it's going to be in that opposite Mazzaroth. Oops. So the aspects of the moon, the photo period, these are those phases of the moon, like how you get the sliver and the half and all that. So the moon's changing phases create a rhythm of light and darkness, influencing biological cycles and providing a visible witness to the passage of days and nights. The moon's light cycle and its effects. The lunar photoperiod refers to the changing levels of moonlight throughout the phases of the moon over the course of its cycle. The moon's photoperiod month averages about 29.5 days, made up of 6 months with 29 days and 6 months with 30 days. Compared to the solar months, this creates a difference of 10 days per year. Yeah, Jackie. Each month there's a full moon. Yeah, it can be full at any point in the solar month. Thank you, Sister Marissa. Yeah, so any days between any full moon between the days of 1 and 30 of each month, it's going to occur. It's not going to occur like the exact same solar month days every month. It's not how the moon works, unfortunately. So the effects of the lunar photoperiod. Organisms respond to moonlight levels, not just sunlight, affecting coral spawning, fish migration, and even human sleep cycles. And, women's cycles as well. I can add that. So nocturnal animals adjust activity levels based on the brightness of the night. Traditional farming practices often time planting and harvesting according to the moon's light. Some crops are thought to grow differently depending on the phase of the moon and nocturnal light exposure. And the moon's photoperiod doesn't follow 30 days. And our sister Germaine, she plants by the moon, and she can attest to that. The crops are much better when you plant it according to the moon. So Enoch 78:9, and in certain months, the month has 29 days, and once it has 28. And Enoch 78:15 and 17, in 3 months she makes of 30 days, and at her time she makes 3 months of 29 days each. And when she has accomplished finishing in the first period of time, and in the first portal for 177 days, and in the time of her going out she appears for 3 months, 30 days each, and for 3 months she appears 29 each. At night she appears like a man for 20 days each time, and by day she appears like the Shamayim, and there is no one else in her save her light. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Sister Miranda. Yeah. And yeah, so the phase of the moon also dependent on its correlation to its position with the sun. So the closer it is to the sun, the less light it's going to have. The further away it gets, the more light it has. And Enoch 79:1-6. And now, my son, I have shown you all the matters, and the law of the stars of the Shamayim is completed. And he showed me all the laws of these for every day, and for every season of bearing rule, and for every year, and for its going forth, and for the order prescribed to it every month and every week. And the diminishing of the moon, which takes place in the 6th portal. For in the 6th portal her light is accomplished. And after that, there is the beginning of the diminishing, which takes place in the 1st portal in its season, until 177 days are accomplished, reckoned according to the weeks, 25 and 2 days. She falls behind the sun in the order of the stars exactly 5 days in the course of one period. And when this place which you see has been traversed, such is the picture and the sketch of every light which Uriel the chief messenger, who is their leader, showed to me. And Jubilees 6:34 through 38. And all the children of Israel shall forget and shall not find the path of the years, and shall forget the heads of the months, and seasons, and Sabbaths, and they shall go astray as to all the order of the years. And isn't that the truth? The heads of the months have been forgotten, unless you're on the true calendar. For I know, and from this time on I shall declare it to you, and it's not of my own devising, for the book is written before me, and on the tablets of the Shamayim the division of days is ordained, unless they forget the festivals of the covenant, and walk according to the festivals of the Gentiles, after their straying, and after their ignorance. For there shall be those who assuredly make observations of the moon. Now it disturbs the seasons and comes in from year to year 10 days too soon. For this reason the years shall come upon them, when they shall disturb the order, and make an abominable day the day of witness, and an unclean day a feast day. And they shall confuse all the days, the Kodesh with the unclean, and the unclean day with the Kodesh. For they shall go astray as to the months, and Sabbaths, and festivals, and jubilees. For this reason I command and witness to you, that you may witness to them. For after your death your children shall confuse them, so that they shall not make the year 364 days only. And for this reason they shall go astray as to the heads of the months, and seasons, and Sabbaths, and festivals. And they shall eat all kinds of blood with all kinds of flesh. So we see right there in Jubilees, not to make certain observations of the moon. It was prophesied that people would start following the photo periods of the moon, which is technically not what we're supposed to be doing. So the gates motion, the moon's path through the heavenly gates. The moon moves through appointed gates in the sky, marking an ordered path and testifying to the progression of time within each cycle. In Enoch chapters 72 through 75, the moon is said to rise and set through a series of 12 gates. These gates mark the ordered path by which the moon enters and exits the sky each day and night, bearing witness to the progression of time and the rhythm of the month. Gate motion refers to the movement of the moon through its appointed gates in the sky, as described in the book of Enoch. The moon's motion through the gates averages about 29 days, creating a yearly shortfall of about 6 days compared to the solar year. This is distinct from the moon's photoperiod, its waxing and waning cycle, which falls behind by about 10 days each year. Both cycles reflect Yahuah's appointed order for the moon. Excuse me. But they progress at slightly different rates. The moon's photoperiod falls behind the sun. Enoch 74, 10 through 17. And if 5 years are added together, the sun has an excess of 30 days, and all the days which increase to it for one of those 5 years, when they are full, amount to 364 days. And the excess of the sun and the stars amounts to 6 days and 5 years. Again, this is at 1¼ days excess of the sun and the stars, and then it continues to go into the 30 days excess of the moon. So in 6 days every year come to 30 days, and the moon falls behind the sun and the stars to the number of 30 days, and the sun and the stars bring in all the years exactly, so that they do not advance or delay their position by a single day unto everlasting, but complete the years with perfect justice in 364 days. In 3 years there are 1,092 days, and in 5 years 1,820 days, so that in 8 years there are 2,912 days. For the moon alone, the days amount in 3 years to 1,062 days. And in 5 years she falls 50 days behind. To the sum there is 5 to be added, in 62 days. And in 5 years there are 1,777 days, so that for the moon the days 6 and 8 years amount to 2,832 days. For in 8 years she falls behind to the amount of 80 days. All the 17 days she falls behind in 8 years are 80. And the year is accurately completed in the conformity with their world stations and the stations of the sun, which rise from the portal through which it rises and goes down 30 days. So here we have these stations of the moon, which is the mile markers in the year. And if you need more explaining of what we just read, feel free to ask Sister Marissa, because I can't. No. So the moon travels through 24 fixed stations, dividing its path into defined zones that allow the counting of days. And thank you, sisters. So they allow the counting of days, alignment with the solar year, and confirmation of the seasonal structure, equal segments of 15 degrees each. These stations are appointed by Yahuah to provide structure and rhythm to the moon's motion. As the moon moves from one station to the next, it bears witness to the orderly progression of time, showing the cycles of days and nights within each lunar month. Observing the moon's stations allows us to see a consistent pattern in the heavens, reflecting the established order of the year. And remember, we spoke about lunations earlier? Well, this is exactly what it's describing. So Enoch 74:17, and the year is accurately completed in conformity with their world stations and the stations of the sun, which rise from the portal through which it rises and goes down 30 days. So the 24 lunar stations, on 14:2. In my Father's house are many mansions. And the word here is G3438. And it comes from G3306. Excuse me. Talking too much. So it comes from G3306. A staying, that is, residence, the act or place, an abode or a mansion. So in my Father's house are many mansions, and if not, I would have told you, and I go to prepare a place for you. So here we're going to see all the lunar stations. And as we can see, there's the 24 different ones in each Maseroth period. Yeah, I need to get some water. I think after this, I'm going to take a little water break really quickly. What do you think it means that the stations of the sun and the moon are complete in 8 years? It's been your question for about 8 years. That's a very good question there, sister. All right, so while what verse was that? Enoch. So 74:17.
Yeah, so I don't think that that's saying in 8 years that they're completed. It's saying the year is accurately completed according to the world stations. And so we can see in that the lunar stations are also separate from the stations of the sun, because they're talking about the moon cycle in this chapter anyways. And so the year is completed together, the lunar stations and the stations of the sun. And I believe that that is the lunar witness with the 273 days. apart, with the lunar station for the summer intercalary day matching the spring intercalary day. And so that's our second and third witness of the year being complete on day 364. So the year is complete, accurately completed in conformity with the world stations and the stations of the sun, because then the day after that is the chamber day for the equinox.
Not trying to put you on the spot, Marissa, but didn't know if you wanted to add some more commentary because Jeremy said he was going to take a water break.
Oh, sorry.
Because you were doing great.
No, that's really all I had to say about that. And just because I don't have the chapter up in front of me. But I will say this is why putting that void day after day 361 doesn't work, because then it makes the witness of the moon and the stars not valid anymore, because it is a 273-day cycle. So the moon moves through the 24 lunar stations in 27.321 days, which in 10 cycles equals 273 days. And so if you add a void day before the end of the counting of 364 days, then it's going to come out to 274 days, and then the witness of the moon no longer being valid. So then that would make this sentence in verse 17 to be invalid. We won't have both witnesses there.
There you go. I was hoping you would
Yeah.
reiterate that.
Yeah,
It's my
and
favorite.
that makes sense. But in verse 15, at least this version says, "For its days in 8 years are less 80 days, which 80 days are its diminution, or however you pronounce it, in 8 years. The year then becomes truly complete according to the stations of the moon and the stations of the sun, which rise in the gates." I've always read it as it's like an 8-year cycle somehow. You don't think that's what it's saying?
No, I think it's just making the I just pulled it up now, Jackie, but it's just making the comparison between what is the sun cycle and what is the moon's cycle, like how many years are in the moon's path. And so um we know that this chapter is talking about two different things. It's describing the stations of the moon, but then also the photo periods of the moon, because of where it says in verse 11, and the overplus of the sun and stars amounts to 6 days. In 5 years, 6 days, every year comes to 30 days. But we know, and then it continues, and the moon falls behind the sun and stars to the number of 30 days. But then, so that's 6 days every year being spoken of in that verse of the moon falling behind the sun and stars. But then when we go further down, to verse 14, for the moon alone, the days amount to, in 3 years, 1062. And so in this counting, they're talking about the moon. He's talking about the moon falling behind to the number of 10 days per year. So the photo period of the moon falls behind 10 days, but the station of the moon falls behind 6 days per year. So the moon has the three different aspects to it and different like reckonings of its cycles. And so that's why that verse 11 really perplexes people, um, because it's not repeating what is then said at the bottom there when it's talking about the photo periods of the moon. So the important thing is to look at verse 12, where it says the sun and the stars bring in all the years exactly. And I do believe that that's correct. Other versions I've seen, it says the moon brings in all the years exactly, so that they do not advance or delay their position. So they, meaning the years, do not advance or delay their position, because the moon's stations and the sun's stations are confirming the end of the year. They together confirm day 364, and then the next day being the equinox.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, and I don't know if anybody has the Sefer version, but the Sefer version is really confusing on that as well, because it'll say the moon and the sun and stars. So the Sefer version is not as direct as the R.H. Charles version.
Yes, and that's what I originally read all this in. But I have, like in my Sefer, I have the moon crossed out, and I have, I have it written because I look at more than one version. So I knew that way back when, but it was just this. I always read that verse 15 as being like there's a complete cycle at the end of 8 years where both the sun and the moon complete their cycle, and not necessarily just at the end of every year at 364 days. So that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, you
You're
are
welcome.
welcome, sister. And thank you for helping to answer, Sister Marissa. Okay, so I got some water, so I'm back. So we went over the 24 stations there, and we will continue here. So after 10 complete revolutions through the 24 stations, the moon completes roughly 273.2 days, which corresponds to 3 91-day solar seasons. The intercalary days, along with the head of days, act as mile markers along this lunar path. So again, that lunation that we spoke about, confirming the proper counting of days and the alignment of lunar and solar cycles. These mile markers serve as fixed points in the year. Yeah, the gift there, sorry. And showing the precise timing of the seasons and ensuring the moon's journey reflects the structure of the solar year. From studying the station patterns, two key truths emerge. The head of days aligns with the winter intercalary day, and the summer intercalary day aligns with the spring intercalary day. And the 364th day of the year, when the sun completes its stay in the third portal, as described in Enoch 72. By following the moon stations and observing the intercalary days, we can see how the moon functions as a second witness to the year and its seasons. Independent of the photoperiods of the lunar months, its consistent movement confirms the order of the days and the progression of the seasons. The moon stands in its appointed stations, bearing testimony to the rhythm of Yahuah's timepiece, showing that even though it does not rule the year, it faithfully reflects the structure and timing of the solar year and the sequence of the seasons. And again, here's some examples Sister Marissa had made for us. And in here, I only have one of these examples. I put all of the ones in my write-up. I just took screenshots and put them in there. But this is just for 26 to 27. 2026 to 2027. Yep, the stars and moon are witnesses to the solar count. By 2 or 3 witnesses, a matter is established. That's it right there, brother. So the moon, a faithful marker and witness of time. The moon does not determine the years as the sun does, yet she serves a vital role as a witness, H 5707, to the appointed times, and she governs H 6213, the night, and marks H 2708. These are all the Strong's Concordance numbers, by the way. The fixed times. Excuse me. So H4150. With consistency and precision. Her movement is appointed and established. So H3559 in the heavens. And she is described as distinguished and valuable. H4022 among the luminaries. Through her ordered path, the moon testifies, H5707, to the passing of the year, confirming what the sun has set in motion. She does not appoint the year, but she records, or H5707 again, she records it, acting as a visible sign of Yahuah's timing. All right, so let me get this last one up here, and it's going to be the priestly courses. This one is the shortest one out of all of them. I don't think my voice can handle anymore, right? So yeah, if anybody has any questions or anything, feel free to keep asking. Or if something sticks out to you, or you have something to even, feel free to speak up. Okay. So now we're going to get into the 24 priestly courses found in scriptures. So the 24 elders and the celestial order. The 24 elders surrounding the throne are not arbitrary. In David's time, the priesthood was divided into 24 courses, each serving in rotation before Yahuah. And now we can see how it lines up with the 24 lunar stations as well. Revelation echoes this number, describing 24 elders clothed in white and crowned, seated around the throne in worship. Even in the heavens, the moon's path can be divided into 24 stations, reflecting the same appointed order. These parallels show that priestly service and the stations of the luminaries are interconnected, each bearing a witness to the structured design of Yahuah's creation. So 1 Chronicles 24, 1 through 19, it's going to describe David divides Aaron's descendants into 24 priestly courses to serve in the rotation at the temple. Because remember, the priests, even on Shabbat days, Moedim, all of these, they still had to do their work. They couldn't take a day off from it. So these courses were made, or enacted, I should say, by David to provide a break for the priests. And then 1 Chronicles 28:13, David gives instructions for how the priests and Levites should carry out the service of Yahuah. 2 Chronicles 8:14, Solomon maintains David's divisions, keeping the temple order intact. 2 Chronicles 23:8, the priestly courses are restored and active under Joadiah the priest. And then Luke 1:5, Zechariah, the father of Yochanan the Immerser, John the Baptist, serves in the temple in the course of Abiyah. And then here is the year 1 of the priestly courses. And we see all 12 months here, Chadashes, and all the different priestly orders or courses throughout each one. And again, this is going to be on in Marissa's PDFs. All of this. The throne and the 24 elders. So Revelation 4, 2 through 4. And immediately I came into the Ruach and saw a throne placed in the Shamayim, and seated on the throne, and he who sat on it there was like a jasper and a ruby stone in the appearance, And there was a rainbow around the throne, like an emerald in appearance, and around the throne were 24 thrones. And on the thrones I saw 24 elders sitting, dressed in white robes, and they had crowns of gold on their heads. And Revelation 5:8, and when he took the scroll, the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, each holding a harp and golden bowls filled with incense, which are the prayers of the Kodashim. Revelation 7:10 through 11, and crying out with a loud voice, saying, deliverance belongs to our Elohim, who sits on the throne, and to the Lamb. And all the messengers stood around the throne, and the elders, and the 4 living creatures, and fell on their faces before the throne, and worshipped Elohim. Revelation 11:16 and 17. And the 24 elders sitting before Elohim on their thrones fell on their faces, and worshipped Elohim, saying, we give you thanks, O Yahuah, El Shaddai, the one who is, and who was, and who is coming, because you have taken your great power and reign. Revelation 19:4 through 5. Hey, Shabbat Shalom, Brother Michael. Yeah, I'm feeling that too. I'm going to have to take a rest from my voice here in a moment. But we're not too, we don't have too much left here, so no worries. I'm not trying to rush through it either, but. So Revelation 19:4 through 5. And the 24 elders and the 4 living creatures fell down and worshipped Elohim, who sat on the throne, saying, Amen, Hallelujah. And a voice came from the throne saying, praise our Elohim, all you, his servants, and those who fear him, both small and great. Thank you, brother. So we have 4Q318 here from the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Dead Sea Scroll fragment 4Q318, which refers to the stations of the moon, and it outlines a complete 364-day calendar year. In reconstructing the entire pattern, all fragments fit together perfectly, confirming the accuracy of the year length. Importantly, from the 26th to the 26th to the 31st day of the 12th month, the calendar shows no extra or void days inserted within the 364-day cycle. This means that the calendar is continuous and unbroken, with no additional days added inside the year itself, highlighting a precise and orderly timekeeping system, utilizing the stations of the moon as a witness. So it's also called 4Q Brontologen, which is 4Q318. And this is just the couple fragments there going over these lunar stations, basically, and which sign is there and on which days of the solar month. I'm not going to read the whole thing because there's a lot to read there. And if you would like to read it, it's in my article. So, and then we have the pictures from the Dead Sea Scrolls themselves. And actually, I had meant to ask what version this was that you got these pictures from, Sister Marissa. Because I tried to find one where it says like the ox, the twins, the things like that. But when I was looking through the complete Dead Sea Scrolls and even Francisco Garcia's edition, this is exactly what was in it. It was saying the modern versions of them.
Yeah. You can see it in that book though, right? In the picture?
Yeah, you can see it in the book here. That's why I actually included them.
Yeah.
It shows like,
So I don't know if that's the Dead Sea Scrolls Wise, Michael Wise. It's like a
I don't
hardcover
know.
book that I have. Yeah.
Oops, sorry, I lost connection there. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Hold on just a moment. Yeah, my computer is losing signal for some reason. I don't know why. But if you all can still hear me, it's all good. But anyways, we can see, these different Mazarons. Hold on, it keeps resetting on me. Hold on, give me just a moment. Okay, I just logged off and logged back in. So let's see if this works. Because it kept giving me the buffering thing. So anyways. Can I get the slides? And is the recording posted? Yes. And yes, sister, absolutely. It's actually, let me grab those for you right now. They are, where are they? Right here. Let me forward them. Yeah, no problem. Oops, that was only, why did it only forward one? Are you in our library group, Sister Charlie? Here, I'll just tag you in where it's at. Oh yeah, you are here. Awesome. All right, so I tagged your name there, Sister Charlie, in the group where all these PDFs are and the graphics and things like that. And yeah, it's the second pin tab. And yes, absolutely, this is being recorded and it will be posted here and on YouTube as well. Okay, so let's continue here. Yeah, no problem. So yeah, as you can see here on the screen, it shows the actual, names they were called, not the modern day pagan ones. And then here, Sister Marissa reconstructed the patterns in 4Q318 and put them on the calendar layout as well. So we can see all the different, so the signs of the Mazzaroth here, the different ones, and they're going to line up exactly with what is read in 4Q318. And she has it all the way for all 12 months, actually. Really fascinating and amazing work, honestly. And these I just wanted to scroll through real quick to just show you all. I know Marissa covers all of this in her video about it, which is the Fabric of Creation one, part 3. But if anybody has questions about, what she's found here, feel free to ask.
Can I find those calendars to print?
Actually, in that same tab with the PDFs, you'll find the calendar. I got to redo the 12th month, but I think this year these dates are going to be exactly the same. Just the layout of the 12th month I got to fix. And I kind of did, but it's not on the PDF form. So I have to get it on the PDF. Oh, is that the one it's from? From Michael Wise. Okay. That's the only one I did not look at was Michael Wise's. I figured it would be in there. All right, so the 4 names of the moon. Enoch 78:2. And the moon has 4 names. The first name is Asonia, the second Ebla, the third Benes, and the fourth Array. The Book of Enoch notes that the moon bears 4 distinct names: Asonia, Ebla, Benes, and Array. I don't know why these symbols came in like that. Anyways, observing the moon stations over 13 Sabbaths at a time may reveal patterns that correspond to the 4 seasonal quarters of the year. Yep. There's 13 Shabbats in between each quarter. These names and cycles reflect the moon's role in bearing witness to the seasonal order, rather than setting the year itself. The sun remains the primary authority in marking the year, with the moon providing a secondary, supportive testimony to the progression of the seasons. And as you can see, each season of the year, the moon has a name for each one. And by the way, thank you both Sister Marissa and Natalie for these graphics here. So the lunar stations as a witness. Yeah, they're amazing graphics. Jubilees 6, 29, and 30. And they placed them on the tablets of the Shamayim. Each had 13 weeks. Their memorial passed from one to another, from the first to the second, from the second to the third, from the third to the fourth. And all the days of the command shall be 52 weeks of days, 52 weeks of 7 days, and these shall make the entire year complete. Yeah, exactly, Sumi. So the rotation of the priestly courses, with priests changing duty each Shabbat, may have aligned with the moon stations, suggesting that the moon's movement through its appointed stations could have served as a visible sign supporting their service. The 13 Sabbath cycles, together with the orderly rotation of the priesthood, provide a second witness for each season and reflect a unified calendrical pattern. This understanding does not overrule the sun in Yah's luminary calendar, but presents the moon as an additional witness, working in harmony with the greater light to testify the appointed order of time. Barak Yahuah. That is all for the calendar recap we have here. If anybody has any questions or, anything they'd like to add or really anything, feel free. Now's a good time because Sister Marissa's here to be able to help answer. And if
Title
not,
of
oh, go ahead, brother.
hello.
Go ahead.
What will be the title of the PDF that you're going to make up?
So with these,
Put what?
I don't know. I'm not. So with these ones, I will title them calendar recap PDFs, I think.
Okay.
With the priestly horses.
Well, no, the all of the writings that he did on this presentation.
So The last two that I read, like the two last parts I did, those are actually, I just took them directly from Sister Marissa's PDFs that she's got, which
Well,
are,
I was referring to the first part that where they were your writings.
okay, and that one, yeah, I'll put it in the calendar PDF section, and I'll
Uh-huh.
just call it, I'll name it a calendar recap.
Okay. Okay, that's good. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, all praise to the Most High Yahuwah. And thanks to Sister Marissa for taking her time to figure out the moon stations and all these things. You know, it's taken over a year to figure it all out, so I know how it can be. But Barak Yahuwah.
Hallelujah. Praise Yah.
And speaking of that, would you like to play a song for us, Sister Marissa?
Yeah, actually, yeah, I wanted to, because Charlie's here and I haven't gotten to share the song with her. But anyways, so I just want to kind of give like the backstory to it. I was super depressed the one day, and I was just like playing with my ukulele and just kind of like hitting the strings like this, and praying about it, and just asking Yah to see me. And I felt like I could kind of hear like a muffled voice, and it kind of sounded like it was coming through waters, and I couldn't tell what the voice was saying until I kept like kind of playing the chords for the song, and then the words came to me. So I'm gonna just play that for you guys. Shema Yasharel Yahuah is our El. Shema Yasharel Yahuah is one. Love Him with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. Love Him with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. Shema Yasharel Yahuah is our El. Shema Yasharel Yahuah is one. Love Him all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. Love him with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might.
Barak Yahuah, love it. Thank you, sister. It's one of my favorite songs, actually.
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So,
I'll
yeah,
play another one if you want, Jeremy.
yeah, I love that. I was just about to ask.
I'll play one more. Hold on.
Boom. Listen to it over and over. Actually, I got a YouTube link for it.
Okay. All right. This song is actually a little bit hard to play, and it doesn't sound anything like the original. Making me a clean heart, oh Yah, and renew a steadfast spirit in me. Making me a clean heart, oh Yah, and renew a steadfast spirit in me. Do not cast me away from your presence. Do not take your Holy Spirit from me. From me. Restore to me the joy of your salvation, and sustain me with a willing spirit. Restore to me the joy of your salvation, and sustain me with a willing spirit, that I may show transgressors your ways, and sinners will turn back to you. That I may show transgressors your ways, and sinners will turn back to you.
steadfast spirit in me, making me a clean heart, oh Yah, and renew a steadfast spirit in me.
Love it. Barak Yahuah. Thank you, sister.
Yeah, of course.
I know Ellie said she was going to sing, but I don't see her in chat anymore. So, aw. No worries, though. I love it. So, yeah, if there is no other questions or anything, I think we may end it there for this Layla this evening.
Yeah, thank you, Marissa, for singing, and Jeremy for doing the presentation, and for Marissa, your part in the presentation. It was lovely.
Yeah, absolutely, no problem. I felt it important to continue to go over it because it's been quite a while since we've actually covered the calendar.
Yes, agreed. Thank you. It's always good to review.
Yeah,
That was
absolutely.
awesome. Good job. Thank you for singing, Marissa. It's beautiful.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And thank you all for being here and just being a part of the fellowship as well. It's always such a barakoth, a blessing.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yeah, Shabbat Shalom, Pacey family. And yeah, I think we might end it there this evening. My voice needs a Shabbat rest itself now. But
Drink some warm lemon water with some honey.
oh yeah, there we
Oh,
go.
yes, that's a good idea. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat
Shabbat
Shalom.
Shalom.
Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom.
Shalom. We will see you all very soon. And I allow that you all have a very barakoth rest of your evenings or days, wherever you are. And we will see you all again next week or Thursday evening as well for our midweek midrash. But Shabbat Shalom to everybody, and we will see you all soon.
Yah bless.